Oracles, your new album. It's not that new, is it?
Oh, it's pretty new.
Yeah, but I mean, it's from 2012, isn't it?
Oh, I see. So it was originally commissioned and performed in 2012, but it's gone through a lot of different evolutions, and I've rewritten it, and so it's finally been recorded and then released this month.
Okay.
Yeah.
When was it recorded? What is on the album now?
Yeah, so it was recorded in 2015. Yeah, so I did sit on it a little bit and then found a great label, Gearbox Records, who have released it as vinyl and as CD and digital download.
And I understand it's a live album.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everything was performed live.
Yep. It was performed at a venue called the Roundhouse in London, and so basically it's a song cycle, choral song cycle. So choir, band, and then me singing solo. And for me, it was really important to perform it live and record it live because there was a very special energy that seemed to happen between me and the audience that I wasn't sure would be captured that well in a studio. So yeah, I'm really glad it's finally out.
The first song, I don't remember the songs by names. Sure. I just say the first song. Sure. It's about you lost your brother, and the way you perform it there, if you did it in a studio, I think it would be very difficult because it's almost like you're crying when you sing the first song where you sing about it won't get him back no matter what you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Were you crying?
Actually, I think there have been moments when I've performed Oracles, and certain moments I felt really, really emotional. What really struck me actually when I performed the piece was that afterwards people would come up to me from the audience and talk to me about their own experiences of bereavement or struggles, and I was really touched by that, and it seemed to have something about the journey through these different emotions seemed to have a healing effect on some people, which was really amazing for me as an artist to experience that.
I stood under the bridge on the eve of his birthday, and I watched the snow drift past these houses and walkways. The snow drift past these hundreds of ghost days. Night unclenches a fist, night breaks bread as this town sways. I stood under the bridge on the eve of his birthday, and I watched the snow drift from these clouds on their bright parade. Down to a wisp, cinders white as his bones are laid, and tears of oak, fist of willow won't bring him back if I grow
I was commissioned to write this piece, and I felt that, okay, what am I feeling right now? Where am I at? It was just after the death of my brother, and so I started writing it as a way to make sense of that experience, and then as I was going through that experience, I also fell in love, and that was a part of that experience of healing for me as well. So that's also in the song cycle, that experience of, you know, starting off with grief, feeling completely like in pieces and being put back together by friends, and then having this experience of romantic love and remembering the essence of like life again and joy.
All in all, basically it's from grief to acceptance that, like you sing, it won't get him back, and I don't know how long it takes to accept that.
Yeah, I think anyone who's experienced grief knows that it's not a linear process. It's a very kind of strange, cyclical process that, you know, at any given point in your life you can feel differently about it, and it can affect you in a different way. For me, part of that acceptance was, the second to last song is about returning to childhood. It's a song called I Grew Up in a Room Small as a Penny. And and so that was also about going back to memories that before had maybe been too painful to revisit. And that's part of that, integrating your past with your present, so important.
I grew up in a room small as a penny. I was certain of love, but we didn't have money. At the end of the garden, a lawn spread with honey. I was soothed by the pines, it was endlessly sunny. In that cool dark room, I lined up my soldiers and marched them to lands of ochre and cobalt, and read about sailors who dreamed about Jenny, and Jenny had elemental pearls by the penny. I was certain of love, but we didn't have money. Certain of love, but we didn't want for anyone.
The way, or the orchestra, you have a choir, you have strings, and then after the first song you suddenly get into the drums, and now we can dance almost. So tell me about how you put that together. Choir, strings, jazz band, at least drums and bass.
So I come from, I learned to sing through being in choirs when I was a kid. So that was a really big part of my musical education, and something I always loved, and it's still the thing I most love to do is harmonise. So I was offered the chance to work with a choir, so that was the starting block. And then just in my other songwriting work, I worked a lot with sort of, percussion and double bass, and so those things just came out of the sort of more, you know, normal songwriting that I do, and then bringing those worlds together, and it's quite a sort of mixture of genres in a way. It's like it's got some jazz elements, it's got some classical elements, it's got some folk. I mean, I'm essentially like a singer-songwriter, folk singer.
Very confusing. And now I just checked your Facebook and saw you'd been back in London. You've been on Radio 3, which is the classical channel that where you were performing and talking about it. They don't play it on Radio 1, not Radio 1 at all, but Radio 2, which is similar to our P4. They don't play you there?
So I think it's still a bit on the classical side. I think, my future music, I think, would sit on, is it P4? Is your radio
P4, that's the
good to know.
popular channel for the grown-ups.
Yeah.
But not too grown-up. After 50, you have to find the really old people's channel.
And which one would that be?
P5.
P5, okay.
Internet and DAB radio, not on the FM.
Okay, this is good education for me about Danish radio. I think Radio 3 It is classical, but they do also, they are a little sanctuary for sort of more alternative music that maybe doesn't fit in obvious categories. It was great to be on. I mean, they do quite a lot of folk on that program that I was on. So I think I was kind of under the folk classical thing.
I had a little laugh because the announcer, after you were out, said, this was in a Silvera, now let's get some Schubert.
I want every radio broadcast I do to be followed by Schubert. Yeah, that's going to be my new demand.
Hollow as a mandolin, weightless as a feather, shows the pluck my eyes and skin, jewel my skull with treasure. When I heard the news, my voice rolling out like thunder, white noise. When I heard the news, my voice came rolling out like thunder, white noise. When I heard the news, I was
Your influences. We've been talking about Kate Bush. When I first heard you, my first thought, the first name that came to mind was Sandy Denny. There was Pentangle with Jackie McShee, and some will write Bjork, but the folk thing, the Fairport Convention, they're still performing, but those Sandy Denny 60s, 70s folkies.
Love it.
Yeah. Love it, yeah.
Oh, I love Sandy Denny. It's such an amazing voice. So for me, very much like what I grew up singing, because my dad always had a guitar and we were always playing music together. So I grew up on Nana Cohen and Joni Mitchell, Joan Baez, so James Taylor. They were like Cat Stevens as well. They're like my foundations, because I just find that kind of music so touching and really like a touchstone for me. But then in terms of influences now, I feel like I have a really amazing peer group around me in London of musicians, especially singers, who I think are just doing such interesting things. So it's a wonderful singer called Lisa Knapp, a band called Snow Poet with a singer called Lauren Kinsella. There's just, so many that just, come to mind.
You didn't mention Snarky Poppy. You have... What's his name
Phil
playing
Lawrence.
the piano? From Snarky Poppy. How did that come about with playing on the Oracles?
Okay, so Bill and I have some mutual friends, including a dancer director friend of mine called Kate Church. And when I was looking for a pianist for the recording of Oracles, she said, "Why don't you try Bill?" And to be honest, I wasn't that aware of Snarky Puppy. Like I absolutely had heard of them, but because I think he plays more keyboards in that band, he's less of a sort of. But he's actually a really talented, very lyrical pianist in his own right. And he was just fantastic. It was lovely to work with him, and it was great.
Snarky Poppy, there was a what do you call it? YouTube phenomena. Me too. Someone told me, "Have you heard Snarky Poppy? There's a concert. It's sold out." So, what?
Because it's like it's real funk, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't know how they would characterize it, but they're really giving that whole funk thing a real resurgence. It's interesting what they're doing.
Amazing band. In Denmark, you have your boyfriend, your husband here, and sometimes you're in London. But here I see in the autumn you'll be touring a little bit in Denmark. With whom?
Yes, absolutely. Well, actually, we're going to be doing quite a lot from November onwards with a wonderful multi-instrumentalist, but best known probably as a violinist, Bjarke Falgren, who is a joy to work with. And we actually met, didn't we, through Bjarke. So we will be touring. It's going to be my first taste of getting outside of Copenhagen and performing, which I'm really looking forward to as well.
Churches?
All over the place. Don't ask me to pronounce the places, please. But they're all on my website, all the dates, yes.
So that's the two of you. But Oracles, will that ever be performed like you can hear on the record now again?
So I just performed it in London for the launch at the Purcell Room at the South Bank Centre.
With the whole choir and...
No, I did shrink it down a bit,
Okay.
but I got a instrumentalist who can also sing, so that was like a 6-piece. In terms of a choir, I would love to do that. If there's any extremely rich agents and promoters out there who want to put it on, that would be wonderful. It is quite an undertaking, but it's a joy to do. So, and there's a choir that I'd really like to work with here, so we'll see.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, because I know we have good choirs.
You do. You have some really great choirs. There's a lovely group of lady singers called Vokalskabel.
Yeah, I know them. Glass.
Yes, did I say that right?
Vokalselskabet.
Yes,
Glass.
Vokalskabel Glass. That's it, exactly. So we've talked about maybe working together, but yes, it's
Not that expensive if you know them.
okay, good. I'll get you to negotiate the deal.
Went down to the river, but the river wasn't one that you would know. Drew my face to the river and I shivered that the devil's face would show. Carved your name with a silver-lipped accent and I planted with cherry stones. Shook the staves of the trees until they whispered every secret in their bones. I keep walking and walking down by the riverside. When the first stems of April come to deliver, I'll be delivered. Oh, I draw you in a circle of chalk and wait for the rise of the yellow moon. Biding my time gently down to sea, like love in an old rowing boat. It's true, I wasn't meant for this life at all. You make me want to do. Saw a chest made of copper, made of silver, made of every precious stone. You held your hand till it ached and it quivered and declared which chest to own. While I was dreamt of riches, fair stitches, and a casket filled with gold. You knew held the only crown with my kisses and my body that would be your throne. I keep walking and walking down by the riverside.